It's 1995. Well, it is in the world of Stu's Music Quiz this week anyway. Yep, we're coming back up from 30 years past in last week, 65 quiz, and we're back into 1995, 25 years ago. Now, just a reminder for those of you doing this quiz, it's a 50-question quiz based around music from a particular year. We kind of work alongside on Twitter, Richard Shaw's choose 3 songs for a particular year. This week it's 1995, so feel free to go on and do that. You can see there we have a separate answers video as well, which I strongly encourage you to look at. Otherwise you won't know how well you've done. Please do subscribe to us. It's obviously the more subscribers I get, the better it will be. And of course, feel free, please, to follow me on Twitter as well and promote it as much as you can if you enjoy this. Of course, this is, as we'll say later, it's on behalf of the charity Young Minds UK that I'm doing this. So hopefully you'll feel that you want to give a donation maybe a little bit later on as well. Okay, let's get going with the quiz though. Starting with some trivia questions. Now, the first trivia question, generally the same one I ask most weeks. The biggest selling single of the year in the UK. These 4 were amongst the biggest selling singles. Which one was the biggest of the lot? Was it Back for Good by Take That? Was it Unchained Melody, packed with White Cliffs of Dover by Robson and Jerome? Was it Gangster's Paradise by Coolio? Or was it Think Twice by the long-armed Celine Dion? Which one of those was the biggest selling single of 1995 in the UK? Secondly, what was the biggest selling album of the year? Again, 4 choices for you there from big sellers of the year. Was it Robson and Jerome by Robson and Jerome? Was it Life by Simply Red? Was it Made in Heaven by Queen? Or was it What's the Story, Morning Glory by Oasis? Number 3. On the 1st of February of this year, Richie Edwards of the Manic Street Preachers went missing, never to be seen again. Honestly, no one knows yet whether he's dead or alive. I'm pretty sure he must be dead. Anyway, they found his car. Where was it? Where was his car found? Number 4. This year, the first original Beatles material since 1970 at least, was premiered on the 20th of November of the year. So what was the name of the song? So the first original Beatles material since their breakup in 1970 was premiered on the 20th of November this year. What was the name of that song? Okay, so I'm going to move on to a lyrics round now. Now, what we're doing here is I'm going to give you the lyrics from 5 songs from 1995, just little selections from within them. All you got to do is spot the song. Tell me what the song is. Now, as with most of these, I'm going to go through relatively quickly. Feel free, of course, to always pause as you're going through here. Not cheating. Take as much time as you need to. I just move forward quickly so that we don't take forever doing it. Right, number 5. Act you like you know, G-Go. I know what Bo don't know. Touch them up and go. Uh-oh, cha-cha-chang, chang. Act like you know, G-Go. I know what Bo don't know. Touch them up and go. Uh-oh, cha-cha-chang, chang. Number 6. But still, you'll never get it right. 'Cause when you're laid in bed at night watching roaches climb the wall, if you called your dad, he could stop it all. But still, you'll never get it right. 'Cause when you're laid in bed at night watching roaches climb the wall, if you called your dad, he could stop it all. Number 7. Got some cash, bought some wheels, took it out across the fields, lost control, hit a wall. Got some cash, bought some wheels, took it out across the fields, lost control, hit a wall. Number 8. To me, you're like a growing addiction I can't deny. Now, won't you tell me, is that healthy, baby? To me, you're like a growing addiction I can't deny. Now, won't you tell me, is that healthy, baby? And finally, for these lyrics, my dog's been itching in the kitchen once again. My dog's been itching in the kitchen once again. Okay, so 5 selections there. Give me the 5 songs that they come from. Okay, moving on to the name that album round. This is like, the kind of dingbats idea. Well, I'm giving you pictures, cryptic pictures from which you have to work out the name of big albums, major albums from 1995. Some easier than others. So, for example, number 10, you can see you've got 2 pictures there. What is the album going to be? Okay. Could be Rocky Paracetamol, but it's not. Okay, same with 11, same with 12. As I said, this is one where you probably do want to pause, have a little think, have a little ponder, see what you can work out. And then on the next page, we have 2 more. One, just a single picture. Again, take your time, have a think, see if you can work it out, test your knowledge of albums from 95. Okay, now 95 was obviously the year of Britpop. Well, one of the years of Britpop, but probably the pinnacle of it, shall we say. The heart of the Britpop movement. Was it a great movement? Was it atrocious? Was it not something that didn't really exist and was just made into something by the press? Well, whatever your view is, it certainly dominated quite a bit in this year. So here's 5 questions about bands, songs, movement situations that could be associated and were referred to as Britpop. Starting with the biggest one. Well, I'll remember the Blur versus Oasis battle. The 2 tracks being released on the same day, Blur's Country House and Oasis's Roll With It. Now, I'm not going to ask you who won. I'm sure you'll remember that Blur's Country House won and reached number 1 in one of the biggest weeks for single sales for many, many a year. But the question is, how many sales did they win by? How many more sales did they have than Oasis? Was it A, 30,000, B, 40,000, C, 50,000, or D, 60,000? How many more units did they sell than Oasis? Number 16. Which single from 95 had an inlay which showed how to conceal amphetamines in a DIY wrap? Which single had an inlay which showed how to conceal amphetamines in a DIY wrap? Number 17. Which group associated with the Britpop movement released an album called Nuisance? Critically acclaimed too. Which group released an album called Nuisance? Number 18. Which band used the US police mugshot of Hugh Grant? Well, I'll remember that shot, I'm sure people of a certain age. The US police mugshot of Hugh Grant used as the cover of their debut single. Little clue is it does actually go with the single. It does actually go with the name of the single. And number 19. Now, this is just a trivia one, really, isn't it, for you? What was the name of the pub in Camden, which became what they call the epicenter of Britpop in 95, was thought of as kind of like the home of Britpop? The pub in Camden, which became the epicenter of Britpop in 95. There you go. Your knowledge of Britpop tested thoroughly. Right, that moves on to the picture round, which takes us through to the halfway point of the quiz. There's 6 pictures there for you of 6 people who, in some way or another, were big in 95 or did something important in 95 to do with music here. All you've got to do is tell me who they are. Okay, now, as I say, I'm sure many of you will need to pause and spend a little bit longer thinking about some of those. But while you are just working on those, just a reminder that, as I said at the beginning here, the purpose of this, the reason I do these music quizzes is to attempt to raise money for Young Minds UK, a charity that is very worthy, of course, in what they're trying to achieve, and particularly important at this moment in time. Young people at the moment, like many others, but particularly young people, are really struggling with mental health issues at this moment in time. They're so uncertain. You know, many have their base taken away from them. You know, what's going to happen in terms of exams, what's going to happen in terms of their future. You know, remember being young yourself and how important going out and being with people was, and they're locked up in their homes. They're shoved in there, and there's a lot of pressures going around. I work with teenagers and have done for most of my life, and I can tell you, it's the phrase epidemic is not really an exaggeration in terms of the mental health issue amongst young people at the moment, and they're not as equipped to deal with it as many of us are. Suicide rates are up through the roof, and it's a very, very difficult time. So Young Minds UK do a wonderful job in trying to support and do what they can to make the lives easier for these young people, and hopefully help them in getting through to a healthy adulthood. I believe very strongly. So please do contribute. My fundraising page, there's a link at the bottom there. The little code in the corner should, if you can zap that on the screen, take you there as well. Yeah, please do feel free to give anything that you wish to give. Okay, on to the second half. Now, beginning off here, album covers. I do love an album cover. Of music and digital music, the idea of the lost art of the album cover. Anyway, I'm going to give you 5 album covers here. The little blue bits are where I've blocked out any idea of who the artist or what the name of the album is, and that's all I want from you. I want the name of the album, the name of the artist. So here's number 26. Artist, album. Whose is it? Number 27. Again, another 95 one. Give me the artist. Give me the name of the album. Both of those so far ones that I bought and owned in 95 myself, actually. Not this one though. But again, mega album of 95. Artist, name of album, please. I do give you half marks, by the way, if you can only remember one. 29. One of my favourites of the year. Artist and album, please. And finally, number 30. Artist and album. So now it's time for Name That Tune, the round in which I attempt to play the piano very badly, single lines, single fingers, and play you, in this case, the introduction to 5 songs from 1995. Okay, always hoping it goes right. Let's start with number 31. Okay, what's this the introduction to? This is going to be the easiest of the lot, assuming I get it right. There you go. I'm sure that one was fairly straightforward. Number 32. As always with these, two things that make these difficult are one, my poor piano playing, and two, the lack of any other instruments around that you usually know the intros from, usually know from the sound of it as much as the actual tune itself, didn't you? But there we are. So, number 33. I'll try and blow it one more time for you. Slight balm note the second time round, but I hope you've got the idea. Number 34. Okay, number 35, by far the hardest of them, so bear with me on this one. A little bit slower than maybe normally played, but I've done my best with it there. So 5 attempts at playing the intro to 5 tunes from 95. All you have to do is name them. Okay, on we go into the covers round. Every week I look at songs that have been covered or songs from that year that will be covered. This week, what we're looking at is literally a group of songs, and you just got to tell me who covered them in 1995. All of these were major hits, not just side album tracks. So they were hits. So, you know, don't think I'm trying to trick you. So who had a big hit in 95 with the Stones' Sympathy for the Devil? Who had a big hit in 95 with Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart? Awful version too. Who had a hit in 95 with their version of In the Summertime by Mungo Jerry? And who destroyed Cat Stevens' wonderful Father and Son? And finally, who did their version of I'm a Believer, the Monkees' only #1, written of course by Neil Diamond? Who did their own version in 95 of I'm a Believer? Okay, there's your covers, all to the sound of baking trays being pulled out of a cupboard in the room next door. Okay, Now, one of the other albums that I remember buying of 95, which kind of goes with one of the big issues of 95, was if you remember the Help album, the War Child album, which was intended to raise money for Bosnian children who were suffering the horrific, Yugoslav wars at the time. Now, you may well remember that it was an album that was brought together and recorded in a tiny space of time with a number of different people on it. Now, of those recordings, here are 5. On the left-hand side, you've got artists of the day who came and recorded a song for the album. And on the right-hand side, you've got the songs they recorded. But of course, I've mixed them up. All you have to do is match them up appropriately. Which one of those songs, which song went with which artist? And I'm just staring now in horror at how an apostrophe came in Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. I think I must have been copying that from somewhere and not thought about it. Huge apologies to anyone out there. Although I'm now trying to work out the actual grammatical meaning of it. That would mean that a raindrop has a keep, like in a castle keep, and it's falling on my head. Okay. We're getting near the end now. The Mercury Prize of 95. Look at this wonderful collection of albums. It shows you what a year this was. So we've got Supergrass's I Should Coco. God, I love that album. Elastica's self-titled debut, I think. Trekkies Maxinquay. Portishead's Dummy. PJ Harvey's To Bring You My Love. I suppose that was her kind of debut as well, wasn't it? A solo debut at least, even if it was a third album. Left Field's Leftism. And Van Morrison's Days Like This. Now, that wasn't all of the nominations, but all of them were 95 albums. All of them were nominated for the 95 Mercury Prize. All you got to do is tell me which one won. Which one of those 7 won the Mercury Prize in 95? Okay, and so a few trivia questions to bring us towards the end. Here's an interesting one. Which Swedes became the first Western group to play in China in 95 since Wham 10 years previously? You might remember the Wham 85 whole kind of palaver. But which Swedes became the first Western group to play China since then? It wasn't ABBA. 48. Which group released their final studio album this year, despite their singer having died 4 years earlier? Which group released their final studio album this year, despite their singer having died 4 years earlier? And their singer, who died 4 years earlier, was, of course, on the final studio album. 49. In this year, what became the first rap song to sell 1 million copies in the UK? The first single, the first rap single that sold 1 million copies in the UK was in 95. What was it? And to close us off, something I started last week was 65, quite liked it. A big hit of 95 I'm going to describe to you here in bits and pieces. See how you could, see how you get on working it out. It was a huge hit in the year as well. Okay, it's a traditional American country folk song which predates the Civil War. Okay? It's a traditional American country folk song that predates the Civil War. There have been at least 134 versions of it recorded since 1950. In 1992, the Chieftains received a Grammy nomination for their version of the song. This one would not receive a Grammy version. The song has become a staple of the seventh inning stretch at many baseball games. The seventh inning stretch. Those of you who don't know your baseball very well, like that, like most American things here, it's it's what it says. At the end of the seventh innings, there's 9 innings at a baseball game. At the end of the seventh innings of a baseball game, you get up and stretch your legs. That's it. And they play a song to keep you going. Okay, now this version of the song that was a big hit in '95 was by a Swedish Eurodance group. And it reached #1 in Norway, Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, Austria, and the Netherlands, as well as spending 3 weeks on top of the UK charts. I think in Norway it was like #1 for about 15 weeks or something ridiculous like that. Okay, so take all those into account. Which big hit of '95 am I describing? Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that little tour of 1995 through 50 questions. Please do go and check out the answers video, as well as the answers. I'll just any little facts or things I know about the songs I'll bring to you, and of course it's recommendations for listening as well. I identify a lot of albums that you might want to do to listen to explore '95 further. As I said halfway through, please do donate to my Just Giving page. That's what this is all for. It'll make you feel good about yourself, trust me, and do an awful lot of good. And feel free to follow me on Twitter. And when I say feedback is welcome, I really do mean it. Anything you want to tell me about the quiz, anything you think works, doesn't work, or whatever, please do let me know. I'm always looking out for it. Okay. Thank you very much. I hope to see you over on the answers video very shortly.